You know, the finals have been over a while, the parade has been over a while, and where is Kawhi Leonard?
I've seen pictures of his house in the San Diego area, especially the pool. The fact that he is not rushing there is meaningful to me. The parade was on Monday. He's going to a Blue Jays game on Thursday. I mean, if we're looking for signs.
I mean, the thing about, and what makes that interesting to me is, with him, no one ever gets stories. He doesn't talk to anyone, and he's incredibly unpredictable. So maybe we just look at what he does. And you think the fact that he's still there is consequential?
I think more consequential, Greeny, is that we've seen on social media the last 72 hours, he's still spending time with his teammates. He's spending time with Serge Ibaka. He's spending time with Pascal Siakam. That, again, is a good sign for the Raptors. At the end of the day, you know, he's going to make up his mind how he's going to go. But if we're looking for tea leaves, this is what I'm prepared.
What do you think?
I agree with Brian. I think if Kawhi Leonard was set on getting out of there, he would have been out of there on Wednesday or Thursday after
Monday night on a private jet, Bobby.
After the parade, and he'd be sitting by that pool in San Diego. And I think they offer everything that somebody wants, right? Isn't the goal to win? They return every player from that team except probably Danny Green, and they'll be the favorites in the Eastern Conference.
I think that one of the things that has come up a lot lately, we always assume these guys are going to go sign a max deal somewhere, but he can do a lot less than that if he wants to.
Yeah, and I would be careful with that. I really would, and I know he has the option of doing a 1-and-1 and then entering free agency.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he could do a max, 2-year max with a player option for year 2, but when you have the opportunity to sign a 5-year, $190 million, I call it the golden ticket, blank check, based on his injury history, I would just be really careful about that. But I would understand the rationale. You've got Serge Ibaka, Kyle Lowry, and Marc Gasol on expiring contracts next year. He's probably not sure what that roster is going to look like beyond Pascal Siakam, but to leave all that money on the table. Remember, $221 he left in San Antonio?
That's the thing, Bobby. Like, he's already, I mean, I know it was sort of like out the side of their mouth when he was out the door, but San Antonio did offer him the $220 million Supermax last summer. He said no to that. So it's hard for me when he's already put $80 million that he'll never get back, in theory, away, like how I can judge him. Because from a rational standpoint, Bobby, I think you're right. He's already missed a season with injury in his career, much less he just watched Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant go down. But I don't know if that's motivating for him.
Well, you're right. And I think if it was money was a motivating factor, he would have just stayed in San Antonio. Right? And just kind of played out the year and cashed in there.
The other team, obviously, in this is the Clippers, and from a financial standpoint, which is really your forte, where does all of that sit?
Well, they can offer him 4 years, $140 million. They'll have the cap space to do that. They would have to move a player like Danilo Gallinari to add that second max slot. And I look at the Clippers comparable to where Toronto was a year ago. A strong foundation, an ownership, coach, front office, but missing that all-star level player, a great set of role players that we saw in that first-round series against Golden State.
Greeny, here's the question. Let's say that Kawhi does what we're starting to sniff, which is maybe he signs a 1+1. Do the Clippers, knowing that he does want to play in Southern California, do they only sign short contracts and hold their cap space for a year to say, all right, maybe we didn't get Kawhi this year, we'll just have to sit here and wait for a year? That's major team building questions.
And that's the big thing, that all of these players last year that were on 1-year contracts, the Patrick Beverleys, the JaMychal Green, the Garrett Temple, everybody bought in. Can they repeat that in year 2? And it feels like we keep on rolling over, waiting for that next big star to come.
Well, if we're going to push back Kawhi a year, we're already pushing, someone's going to sign Kevin Durant, and that's going to get pushed back a year. I mean, the entire NBA sort of feels like it's going to hit the pause button for a 12-month period and then see what happens and then try and pick it up again after that.
Maybe.
And just very quickly on the timing, we know the free agency will begin a week from Sunday at 6 p.m. They moved it up a little this year. We'll be here like crazy the following week with afternoon specials and everything else. Is there any way of gauging or guessing when Kawhi will make this official?
That's a really big thing. If he is going to take, you know, Woj has indicated he feels that he's going to take 3 or 4 meetings. Is this going to be a LeBron free agency where he takes 3 meetings in one day, Bobby? Or is he going to go over 4 days? Please don't. I'd like to have my July 4th weekend. And he's going to, because to a certain extent, the league will be frozen a little bit until Kawhi and Kevin Durant choose. And if he decides to make this a 4-day process.
Let's find out what Jay and Jalen think over the other side of the room. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, so on that side of the studio, they're reading the tea leaves a little bit about the fact that Kawhi's still in Toronto. On this side, what do we think?
Well, Wendy's my boy, and he's definitely way more into that situation than I am, but it's only been a week and a day.
Wait, what?
It's only been a week and a day since they won a world championship. You know, and I get it, he's living his best life, but it hasn't been that long in the big scheme of things.
And you could look at both sides of it. You could say he's getting all of his time in Toronto right now so he doesn't have to come back. And so if you're the Raptors, I think you're still in a great position to retain Kawhi Leonard based on the fact that you delivered on all of the things that you promised. First and foremost, you can't ignore the fact that they kept him healthy. He only played 9 games the previous year. So for them to come back and have low management games where they basically go 17-4 without him puts them in a position to be a number 2 seed. Now all of a sudden you get him to the playoffs, he carries you to a championship. That has to be a factor along with the money.
And also what I say is the way that his teammates have handled everything has been incredible. Like nobody's pressured him. You've seen Kyle Lowry. If he wants to come back and ride with us, he can. Fred VanVleet, if he wants to be with us, he can. Serge staying attached to his hip. Pascal, like the way they handled it, it's like, yeah, Kawhi, do your thing. If you want your thing to be a part of what we're building here, then it's all love and appreciation.
And also, this is a perfect example of why it's so tough to walk away from a parade. Okay, because you're celebrating in Vegas after you win a championship with those guys. You have a parade on Monday with 2 million people there. They're saluting you at the Blue Jays game. They could pay you $50 million to stay. You're in the Eastern Conference. So these are all things that I'm pretty sure are going to go into his decision making. But I don't like, and I hope this doesn't happen, to see top-tier players taking multiple meetings. That's lame to me.
Okay.
The reason why I say it is because it shows that you haven't truly bought into your scenario. So if a top guy is taking all of these meetings and then you go back to your current team, you already gave away some of your mojo in the meetings.
What if you are taking the meetings because you're leaving your current team? You still don't like it?
I'm not a fan of multiple
way.
meetings.
And I'll say this, if you take a 1-year deal, we did just come off a game where we saw Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant get hurt. And this is a guy who has had injuries in his past, even though there is a load management. It's something to realistically think about.
This ain't college recruiting.